What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is a Wednesday edition of the Ysn Power Hour. DJ Oakley with you. Had to think about that one for a minute because Scotty Mincher, who's usually here, not here today. He's at the not the Rock and Roll. He's at the Pro Football Hall of Fame today for the first time. Hope he's having a great time. I hope he's living all those dreams that he's got. The biggest Browns fan I know, and of course, he's looking at Jim Brown's bust. He's looking at some of the Joe Thomas, who was just inducted. He's looking at those guys, and a guy that I think that it honestly has a chance at some point. Scotty was absolutely torn up over this past week, because I know a lot of Browns fans are. We haven't had a chance to talk about the Monday Night Football game. We'll talk about it a little bit here today. We got a few things we're going to talk about. We're going to lead off with the power rankings. Then we're going to talk naturally about different styles of coaching. And the reason we're going to talk about that a little bit is because I think that there's some people out there that feel that there's only one style of coaching that is suitable for a multitude of sports and a multitude of levels of sports, whether that be Pee-wee or Little League or whatever it might be. Then you get middle school, high school, college, and pro. We're going to talk about the different types of coaches and kind of the different ways that different coaching can help you through different stages of your life as a student athlete, or as an athlete in general, that is looking to have a successful, not only career in sports, but also a career in period in your life, a successful life. And then we are going to talk about the Brown Steelers a little bit and do a recap and kind of put it all in perspective, because Tuesday, especially on a Monday Night Football day, Tuesday is a weird day because there's a lot of people that are really happy. There's a lot of people that are really sad. There are a lot of people that are miserable, right? Depending on which way the game went. But for me, I had the interesting perspective that I don't usually get. Usually I'm watching these games by myself in the basement, and being miserable by myself, where we had the watch party, and it was really cool to be able to see how everybody handles it and the ups and the downs. And I got to be honest, I know a lot of people that went to that game, and it was probably a little bit better than actually going to the game, because you could get up and go to the bathroom when you want. I mean, all the old people things they tell you about all the time. So, new hat, repping the new hat, the Scrappers hat. Thanks to Heather Solly for taking care of me. I was out that way today. Also got a chance to stop in and see our friends over at Toyota of Warren, who are the proud sponsors of this show. There it is. Tino and the whole crew over there taking care of me, getting the oil changed and getting some tune-ups on the YSN Toyota Tundra. So if you are in, I know they listen, real talk here. My boy Chuck, who sold me the truck, we have a ton of Toyota Tundras that are for sale right now on hand, and they're looking to get rid of them, and they're looking to give you a deal on them. So if you're looking for a brand new truck, lease or buy, you need to go over and see our friends over at Toyota of Warren. Ask for Chuck, ask for Tino, tell them you saw YSN and you want one of the Tundras that DJ Yoakley is driving around, the YSN Tundra. They're going to hook you up. You might not get the wrapping that I have on mine. That's a little patent pending. But you can also get a new Toyota Tundra and show it off to all your buddies. So great truck, phenomenal truck, luxurious truck, lots of room, and it can tow whatever you need. Lots of power in that truck. So make sure you see our friends over at Toyota of Warren. If you're in the market, if you're in the mood to go out and get yourself a new car, new truck right now. So Toyota Tundras out the wazoo. They got them. People want them. Go get them. That's me being a friend to you. All right, so let's talk about first what gets us all the hate, love. I mean, it pours in from every ounce of every crevice there is in the world when we put these up on Sunday nights. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you've probably all seen this already, but it is time to unveil the brand new YSN Power Rankings. First, with volleyball, here we go. All right, so you got Hoban on top. You got Crestview at second. That is a big difference from them being the fifth ranked team last week. We changed the algorithm We changed the algorithm a little bit to reflect more for schools that play up as opposed to schools that are D1 or D2 and are playing that for the majority of the year. We want to encourage the smaller schools that are good to play up. And the argument was, well, what if a smaller school beats a bigger school? That's a penalty to the bigger school. Hey, I got news for you. If you're a bigger school, you've got a bigger pool of girls or boys to choose from, and you shouldn't lose. I, I, I guess, in theory, to a smaller school. We all know that there are smaller schools like Crestview, like LeBray, that are really, really good at volleyball. So Ridge also, by the way, in this on this list. So keep in mind that Crestview gets the 2 spot, LeBray the 3 spot, Fitch the 4 spot, Lakeview at 5. Then you've got Ridge in East Liverpool, followed by Columbiana Girard and Garrettsville Garfield, followed by Jefferson at 11. Western Reserve, man, excuse me, Western Reserve falls in at 12. West Branch at 13. So you got the 2 Wests right there. Beaver Local sliding in at number 14. You've got number 15 in Hubbard. 16 is Edgewood. Then it goes Ursuline, Camel Memorial, and I think that's Southern Local. The yellow is not my favorite. I'm not going to lie to you. Wellsville, Boardman, and Badger rounding out 20, 21, 22. And then you've got Ashtabula, Beulah, St. John, South Range, and Edison rounding out the list. So with that being said, you look at this list and you start wondering, okay, who are the real contenders? This is where, I mean, about this week, the 18th-ish, the 20th-ish of September, you're going to start to see some separation from these teams. What I can tell you is Hoban, for all accounts, they're outstanding. They're outstanding. You look at what Crestview has done, and Hoban has done it at the top level, right? So they're going to continue playing these unbelievably high caliber teams. Crestview can only play so many because their schedule, their MVAC schedule, only allows them to get so many of these non-conference upper tier games where they schedule Fitch, where they schedule oh crap, there's like 3 or 4 of them that Anthony was reading off to me that I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But just take for that example, I mean, when you're playing schools that are 2 divisions higher than you, I mean, that's impressive. It is impressive. And when you get those wins and their signature wins and their sweeps, that's even more impressive. I personally, DJ Yoakley, I think Crestview should be at the top of the rankings. I think they should be number 1. Hoban should be a very close, maybe even a 1A in that scenario. But that's not the way the algorithm shakes out. We don't want to put any of our controlling interest, right? We don't want to put any of that into it. We don't want any human element that is going to come in. We don't want it. We want science. We want the data. We want the facts to push the metrics. And then we just type it in, hit a button, it spits it out, and that's who we have. And you look at what that was, and we'll pull it back up. That's exactly what we have here. We changed the algorithm not to favor anybody, but to make things more even. And this is what we get. And I got to be honest with you, I like it. I like it. For the exception of Crestview, I think is the number 1 overall team on this network. But I'm okay with Hoban being number 1. And I think that not competitively, I think Crestview would be a little bit frustrated, probably still is, that they're not number 1. But when you look at what Archbishop Hoban's been able to do and being number 2 to them, and again, I think there's a gray area there. I think it's like tied for number 1, and then you go to number 3. You can't be too disappointed, right? You can't be too disappointed that you're probably looking at a team that's going to take a state title, if not be in the state, if not take the state title, be in the conversation to grab that state title for Archbishop Hoban. So I listen, I did not like these at all. I've not been an advocate for these until they were sponsored, and we could put a monetary value to them, and people really enjoy them, or they really enjoy yelling at us. I don't know which one. I'm okay with both, right? Like, I'm okay with both. We're doing it for the entertainment value. We're doing it for the information value. So, and sometimes you'll see it on a YSN volleyball game that, you're going up against the number 6 team in YSN. And I think there's something that comes along with that, because if you win that game, then you feel pretty good about yourself, about what your team's able to do. So we're trying to, not reinvent the wheel, but we're trying to replicate what we see on the higher levels. And I think that there are challenges that come with it. There's no perfect algorithm. I appreciate everybody that's reached out and said, hey, what if you do X, Y, and Z? I appreciate that. Trying to, because here's the thing. I'm okay with you throwing darts at what we're doing, as long as you bring a solution to the table and you say, this is not working for you, but this can, right? This is not the answer, but this is. We'll talk through it. We have no problem talking to people. We don't dodge anybody. But my favorite comments are the ones that these rankings are a joke. These rankings are a joke. And that was it. That's the tweet. That's the post. Not, hey, we don't agree with your rankings because X, Y, or Z. Y is, and listen, I respect all, fear none, respect all, right? That's what you learn as a young person. But to just throw out just hot takes of these ratings are a joke, these rankings are an absolute joke. Keep on scrolling, right? Because if you guys, and I tell our guys this all the time, if you're not going to have respect for what we do, at least in arguing, then we're not even going to acknowledge. And we will leave. We're not going to delete your comment, because we're not like that. We'll leave it up so you look like a complete butthole in front of everybody else. Easiest way to say it. Because I can tell you that there's a lot of people that go, did you see that? Sure did. Sure did. Can you believe? Sure can. Sure can. I'll tell you this, 80 to 90% of the people that are tuning into YSN are loving what we're doing. Because they understand why we're doing it, right? We're making people relevant in a world that doesn't want to make them relevant. That's the trick, right? That's the trick. But for people to come on and think that, that you need to get better broadcasters. Okay, here's the sign up page. Come on in. I know you run a barbecue stand. Can you give up a couple of your Friday nights, your Saturday nights? Maybe you want to give up a Tuesday or Thursday to broadcast volleyball? Because that's who you're arguing with. That's who you're saying isn't very good. So unless you're better, I don't know. Keep on scrolling. Keep on scrolling. Nobody's making fun of your barbecue. Nobody's telling you that your barbecue chicken or pork or whatever you guys have isn't good. We're just trying to be out here doing our jobs. And that's what we're doing. And I got to be honest, and I know there's people out there, we're doing a pretty damn good job of it. We're being as equal and we're being as fair as we possibly can, because I encourage homers. I am a homer. 100% with certainty and with gusto, I'm a homer. But on these, I'm as fair as anything. Folks, number one, let's pop this up again. Everybody knows who I'm a homer for. I'm a homer for South Range and East Palestine. South Range is number 24. East Palestine's not on this list. Come on. And we're going to get a little deeper when we talk about football, right? I still think South Range is one of the best teams in this area. And I'll tell it to your face. But the problem is when South Range isn't in the top 5, I hear it. And when they are in the top 25 or in top 5, I hear it, and it's, oh, that's just because DJ's a South Range homer. Okay, so let's take a look at those rankings and see how big of a homer we are. Archbishop Hoban, I mean, I'm telling you, between Hoban and Ursuline, they've been going back and forth as the 1 and the 2. Listen, there's no homering here. 90% of people are arguing that Hoban shouldn't be on this list because they're not from Youngstown. Ladies and gentlemen, real quick, this is not a Youngstown network. Y in YSN, right? The Y stands for your. So if there's a school in Florida that wants to join us, we're going to sign them up. There's a school in Kentucky, California, Wyoming, Texas, whatever. If they see the value in what we bring to the table and they want to be part of us, then we want to be part of them, and they will be included in these rankings. And then it'll get fun. Then it'll get real fun, because people are going to start talking. They're not talking about orange. They're not talking about Archbishop Hoban. We're going to be talking about teams in Texas and California and Florida. Then it gets real fun, right? Because then you've got to do your research, and then you're talking about teams you have no idea about, and then we're sellouts. I'm just telling you, it's coming. It's coming. And as mighty as some of these smaller schools feel when they're on the list with Archbishop Hoban, Fitch, Boardman, Canfield, our local schools will be just as proud when they're on the same playing ground and the same ranking system as an Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary's, Archbishop Hoban, some of these prep schools from around the country. Folks, we got 150,000 people watching every Friday night. Plus, it's not just from Ohio. And it's a beautiful thing. So if you think that this is going to be exclusive, this ranking is going to be exclusive to just Youngstown teams, sorry. And I'll tell you exactly what I told everybody. You can go create the Youngstown network, right? And they've tried and it hasn't worked because there is a following of YSN because we try to do things the right way. Everybody was nervous to rank 10 teams. We stretched it to 25 because we want more people acknowledged. We want more coaches, more communities, more programs acknowledged. These are just an algorithm. These are all 100% algorithm. These are taken basically straight off of Joe Idle's desk, and we throw them in the old YSN computer, punch a button, and it spits them out just like this. So you got Hoban at 1, Ursuline at 2, Poland at 3, Mooney at 4. Going on, you got Jackson Milton, the Blue Jays, with a top 5 appearance. West Branch at number 6. Austintown Fitch at number 7. South Range, highest ranking so far at number 8. Niles at number 9. Western Reserve climbing the charts as well at number 10. Garfield slides in at 11. Struthers 12. Then you've got Beaver Local at 13. United at 14. Edgewood at 15. Edison at 16. Mineral Ridge, thanks for the helmet, Ridge, at 17. Cheney comes in at 18. Canfield at 19. Springfield at 20. Who is that? Who is that? I have no idea who that is. Conneaut. It's Conneaut. The gold is weird. I can't. On my monitor, it's not. It's like gray, and I can't see who that is. Conneaut is at 21, and Lakeside is at 22, followed by Brookfield, McDonald, and Lakeview. I'm gonna get these graphics changed. I can't see them for the life of me. You guys know I can't see real well to begin with, but like that is. I had no idea that. Like Conneaut's blue and gold. Why wouldn't they be blue? I gotta talk to our graphics specialist, Mr. Quinn Pushkar, about that. And they're small too. I don't get that either. We need to blow them up, make them big. Let the world see them, Pushkar. Let the world see them. So that's our rankings. I mean, look, one more time, we'll pop them up. Like, I don't know how you can argue these. I don't understand what can be argued about these. We had an argument, I think it was a Cheney parent that was arguing about Canfield. And I mean, you guys just played each other. Again, if this were a power rankings, a true power rankings like they do in the NFL, Canfield would be over Cheney because of that one game. The same way with, some of these other schools. There's undefeated schools in here. Jackson Milton undefeated. Ursuline undefeated. Poland undefeated. Like, Jackson Milton's undefeated. If we were playing by the rules of the NFL or most power rankings, Mooney would not be over top of Jackson Milton. However, it's who you play. It's how many points they carry. Things of that nature. That's how it goes. We're not playing by different rules just because you want your team to be at the top of some Fugazi power rankings. Like we're not going to do that. We're trying to play by rules here, right? Because it'd be real easy to throw out our fantasy power rankings and this is who we think it, which isn't a bad idea. But you know what? We're going to get even more heat for that because it's going to be, well, this guy announces for it's what when we started the power rankings, we had a guy that put one team at the top of the power rankings who didn't win a game. Like, how can you be 0-9 and be number one in the power rankings against a team that is 9-0? And that team's not even on your power. Like, there's homering and then there's just lunacy. That is lunacy. That's what we're trying to avoid. That's why we had to get science and data backed up. And I hate talking about like defending our power rankings. It's every week because we get every Jack and Jill. Your power rankings are a joke. They're a joke. You're a joke, DJ. I can't believe you would betray. I didn't betray anybody. Neither did our announcers. Neither did the graphics guy. Neither did the people that did the math. I mean, we can show you the math. It's like in high school when you show your work because the teacher thinks that you're cheating, that you got to copy the test and you're just going to write the stuff down and show your work. We could show our work. Our work looks a lot like a data spreadsheet, like a Google spreadsheet with a bunch of numbers plugged in, and you press a button and it spits it out. That's the algorithm. We've got it set. And it comes out every day. It's set, or every Sunday. It's at like 3:00. And then boom, Sunday night. It comes out when you guys are watching Sunday Night Football. Bam. There it is. Something to talk about, something to get mad about. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. And people get all every week. We've had someone yelling at us about our power rankings, and every week we have somebody defending our power rankings because they're part of it. That's just how it is. And I think that's how it's forever going to be. So without getting mad about it, I'm just telling you folks, like, we're not changing it anymore. Unless we find a very big flaw, this is what it's going to be every week. And guess what? We're going to do it for basketball too. And we're going to use the RPI system. And there's going to be people that are mad at us again. And I don't want people to say, I was taught a life lesson on Facebook last week about I've got to be able to accept people's opinions. Oh, trust me. Trust me, I can accept people's opinions. I cannot accept people being absolute jerks. That's the difference. Listen, I know that I'm the guy in this company that's going to get all the darts. Send them my way. But when you start sending them at our announcers and people that are mothers or fathers of our announcers, like, what? Slow it up. Slow it up. I'll take it. I got tough skin. I got thick skin, whatever you want to call it. I'm a gator, baby. Come get me. Come get me. That's fine, because I got so many things that I can put out there of why we're doing this. And the good, let me tell you, the good far, far outweighs the bad if we do these power rankings right. And that's what we're trying to do. So with that being said, let's shift gears. Do we want to take a break? Yeah, let's take a break. Let's take a quick break and honor the greatness that is our friends over at Toyota of Warren for allowing us to have this show, first and foremost, and allowing us the freedoms to be able to do some of the things that we do, like the power rankings and like these interviews that we have during this show. We'll be back. We're going to talk about the different styles of coaching and why we need all of them right after this.
We believe expectations are made to be exceeded. At the new Toyota of Warren, it's about more than just getting a great deal. It's about service you can count on and a friendship you can trust. Year after year, we've done what we do best. We've gone the extra mile so you could too. Because we know it's just not about buying a new car. It's the start of a new adventure. Toyota of Warren, driven by you.
As Comco celebrated 70 years in 2022, we have much to be thankful for. We are proud of the Comco culture as we serve our customers with Comco Care with our premier customer service, quality parts, and on-time delivery. The partnerships we have with our customers and our community are second to none. We thank you for your continued support. We are proud to be part of this community and will continue to offer great jobs for great people.
Change. This one word can make you break out in a cold sweat. But with change comes wisdom, experience, and understanding. At Myers Family Insurance, we can help make changes in Medicare, insurance, and retirement a positive experience for you and your family. We've gone through changes, like our new office and new faces to help our family of clients too.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com or find us on Facebook.
Your culinary adventure awaits.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the YSN Power Hour. DJ Yoakley with you live from Athletic Studios here in Columbiana, Ohio. Route 7. If you haven't been, you need to be. You need to come. You need to show up, and just look what this place has to offer. Coach Hake was here the other day. Loved it. We're probably going to see some Valley Christian Screaming Eagles here, taking up the turf, throwing up some weight, doing some things, because folks, there's so much, not only just great opportunity here with what they have, bare bones, turf, hardwood. They've got a full gym, like to work out. They've got batting cages. They've got golf suites. They've got a concession stand. They've got pretty much whatever your heart desires here at Athletics. But the technology that they have on top of it is what's going to be the separator for what brings your son, your daughter from the level of average to the level of above average to great. It's the different, being able to utilize technology in today's world. As everybody knows, Chat GPT, AI, all that stuff that people are utilizing, text to talk, or talk to text. I always get that wrong. Technology's here to stay. And now we've got places like Athletics that are grabbing sports by the horns, and they're utilizing the technology to make our athletes next generation athletes. So imagine being a next generation athlete in today's game. You've got the leg up every single time you go out on the floor, the field, the court, whatever it may be. You've got the leg up because you put your game ahead of everybody else's. So come on down, check out Athletics, stop and say hi. Maybe we'll drop an interview. Maybe we'll do one of those. We're in here, like literally you can't miss us if you're in athletics. So make sure you stop out, say hi, and sign up today, because I know that the turf is gone when it comes to this winter. So you need to get in now and get your team on the turf, get them registered. I know there's a lot of softball and volleyball tournaments coming up. Make sure you register for that. All right, it is time to talk about coaches from a standpoint of coaches. They come in 100 different shades, right? And I'm talking about the way they coach, the way they educate, their expectations for themselves, for others. But I'm here to tell you, because the constant conversation in all of this, to me, continues to be, well, I like this coach over this coach, so if you're not this coach, I'm not going to play for you. I get that when it comes to college, because I think most, and I mean most, student athletes, most parents understand that there's certain coaches that can get the most out of an athlete, right? You have an understanding of, okay, this coach brought our son, our daughter to this level, and they need that to take them to the next level at the next level. And I think there's a lot of that, right? There's a lot of that, but we're getting away from it. What we're getting back to is we just want to be coached comfortably. We love watching Coach Prime, and we love seeing all these snippets and the sunglasses and the hat and that stuff. Listen, there's a lot of stuff that Coach Prime does that I love. There's a lot of stuff that Coach Prime does that I don't. Right? I mean, he's an old school coach with some new flavor thrown in the rice, so to speak, right? So it tastes a little different. And what I like about him is the old school of, if you talk about me, like we're not talking about you, you talk about me, you make it personal, we're coming after you, right? Not in a vicious way. in a way that is representative. And I think that's a football mentality a lot. That's a soldier mentality. That's a military mentality, so to speak. Like, we're gonna mind our business, do our MOS, do what we came to do, and we'll leave you alone as long as you leave us alone. But if you try something, we're coming at you, and we're coming at you tenfold. And you're seeing that week to week with Colorado. There's a lot of, we talked to Coach Rock last night. Coach Prime is in the news. He's relevant. He has made his, and by being relevant, he's made his kids relevant. So it got me thinking, who are the coaches that are most like coaches in the college ranks, in the NFL, things of that nature? And we're going to start with red hot, right? Red hot take. And you guys can call me out if you think I'm crazy. But if I'm talking about Coach Prime, if I'm talking about a guy that says what he means and means what he says around here locally, that's head ball coach Andy Hake. A guy that says what he means and means what he says. A guy that knows and understands that by being that guy that everybody respects, he's a cult following, as we continue to call it, he's elevating his kids. Because everybody that I know would say, hey, I want to play for that guy. I want to play for Andy Hake. I want to play for Coach Hake because Coach Hake gets me fired up. That's the kind of guy I love and respect and honor and cherish. Listen, this isn't DJ Yoakley. This is everybody else telling DJ Yoakley, Andy Hake's the guy I want to play for. And the connection is Coach Prime, because you saw everybody in the transfer portal running, not walking, not slowing down, not thinking about it. Everybody wants to be a Colorado Buffalo. And when's the last time that you could say that? And I think Valley Christian knows exactly what they have in Andy Hake, because you got a great human being in Dolph Carroll who understands coaches, understands the power and the connection to get to that student athlete and that bridge that you have to build literally piece by piece in order to go from having no trust at all and just being a Joe Blow off the street to being a role model, a father figure, and things of that nature. He understands that Andy not only gets the job done, but gets it done in a way that these kids keep coming back, that they want to make good decisions, good life decisions to go and play for him. In a world that a lot of these kids are having a tough upbringing, right? Not just in Valley Christian, but across the board in that Youngstown, tough, gritty area. If you can keep these kids off the streets, you can give them a chance. If you can keep these kids from making poor decisions and you give them football and basketball and these sports as an option, you give them a chance at life. That's what Coach Prime's doing in Colorado. A little bit different, right? But he's doing the same things. He's taking some of those guys that are 50-50 and he's giving them a shot. Some of them are cashing in and some of them are walking away. You're never, ever going to hit 100%. But that never stops you from trying. And that's what Andy Hake is doing at Valley Christian. He is one of the most humble guys, and you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it. He plays the game. He does the macho man. He wants to fight Floyd Mayweather. But you know what? You're talking about him so he can talk about his kids. How do you not admire that? Guy like Jim Tressel lays on the sword for his guys at Ohio State. And we sit there and we gush about him. And then here's Andy doing the same thing every single time. Every single time he does an interview, he's talking about his kids. It's all about the kids. It's all about, and he means it. There's so many coaches that mean it, but he does things a little bit different. Not everybody likes Coach Prime. Not everybody likes Andy Hake, but I'll tell you what, there's a lot of kids, a lot of student athletes that would love to play for him, even if it's for an all-star game. Ask them. They'll tell you. They would love to play for a guy that always has their backs on the sidelines, always chirping it up. Is he animated? Absolutely. But so is Prime, and look what he's doing. It's unbelievable. That's the connection. I think every coach or every player at some point needs a coach like Andy Hake. Then you go to the other side of the spectrum, but it's not it's not the content that's different. It's the delivery. And you look at a guy like Dan Yeagley, right? Retired, but put in his time, put in everything. And I mean everything, from the determination, from the hours, the resources. He's done everything to make it about the kids, about his coaching staff. The delivery, way different, but it's very Tressel, very Tressel-like. And I've told Coach Yeagley to his face, there's nobody in this world that reminds me more of Jim Tressel than Dan Yeagley. And then I come to find out that Coach Yeagley took classes with Jim Tressel. And that's not surprising. That's not surprising at all. And then you come to find out some stories about Coach Yeagley and Bo Schembechler. And throughout the entire story, the 7 years that we spent together doing interview after interview after interview, I'm learning more about Coach Yeagley now. And that, listen, when you hang up the whistle, it's easy to separate yourself and to just move on with your life. But I see a guy that is trying incredibly hard to do that, but it's hard because he cares so much. Not only about the program, not only about the school, but each and every individual young man and young lady that he taught, that he coached, that he crossed paths with. And they didn't have to just go to South Range. When I look at Jim Tressel, I know that, and anybody that knows Jim Tressel knows that he's got an incredible talent for recall. It is sharp as a tack. And Jim Tressel, you always know when you cross paths with Jim Tressel because he makes you feel like you're the only person in that room, and it's a room full of 700 people, 7,000 people. And he stops, as does the entire world, and he focuses on you for the time that you have together. Dan Yeagley has that same ability, that same innate ability to make you his entire world for that time. Everybody needs a coach like Dan Yeagley. Every student athlete in the world deserves a coach like Dan Yeagley to let them know that they're the only thing that matters at that point in time. And whatever you say is sacred, and it's between you and your coach, your mentor, your role model, your hero, the person that's calling the shots, the CEO. Everybody needs a coach like Dan Yeagley in their life. So you've got two ends of the spectrum there. You've got the content the same, the delivery quite different. But two guys I respect a whole heck of a lot. And why are we talking about this even? Well, it's because, again, there's a lot of people that think that they should have this coach and only be coached by this way, the entire way. And there's a comfortability that kids are getting used to, that student athletes, that parents are getting used to, that should not exist. Coaches are not there to make you feel comfortable. They're there to have you stretch your boundaries, to have you understand that there's more to give. There's more. You have more in the tank than what you brought to the table. Because if you could do that by yourself, or we could do that by ourselves, we wouldn't need coaches. We wouldn't need trainers. We wouldn't need any of these people. But that's what these people are here for. They're special. They're incredible. Their talent is needed on an everyday basis. Everybody, listen, I'm big into mental health. I appreciate mental health. Coaches are there for our mental health. I need some physical health, apparently, at this time. But they're there. You have a guy like, and I think these guys are very similar. Very similar. A guy like DJ Doda, a guy like Mike Pavlansky, and a guy like Sean Guerrero. I think they're very similar in their delivery style. They're going to keep it tight. They're going to keep everything close to the vest. But they pour everything into their heart and soul of their kids. They just dump it out, right? Consistently, constantly dumping out into their kids. Because, listen, you're either with them or you're against them. And that's something I can get behind. There's a lot of coaches that carry that chip right there on their shoulder, right? These three guys have been incredible in doing that. And at the same time, and I'll throw both Pavlansky brothers in there. I'll throw them both because I don't want to shortchange Tom either. To be able to have those deliverables and to be able to pour in, maybe not to the extent of an Andy Hake, right? The way that he does it, maybe not to the mellowness and utilizing it like a Dan Yeagley, but to be able to be somewhere in the middle there, to be caught up in the middle and to have that chip on their shoulder. Because here's what I love, because I'm a chip on the shoulder guy, right? I'll be your friend, no problem. But let's not get competitive, because if we get competitive, we're going to have problems. Like I'm coming for your head. It's the same way as those four gentlemen that I just named. Uber competitive. Very low key when it comes to a lot of things. Now, every coach, I firmly believe, has a button that you can push and you can send them in a fit, no matter which way you put it. But what I'll tell you is those four gentlemen that I just named have a way of talking to their kids and getting the most out of them and letting them understand in a way that they can process quickly. Not dumbing it down. A lot of people call it dumbing it down and playbooks for dummies or whatever that is. It's not the case. Those four coaches relate to the kids, unlike any coaches I've seen before. And we are blessed to have a multitude of coaches that fall into these categories, right? Or multiple coaches that fall into multiple categories. Sometimes you're going to be Andy, sometimes you're going to be Dan, sometimes you're going to be in the middle like Sean, Tom, Mike, and DJ. And I think that's what makes this so special. I would not have been nearly, and this is relative, as successful as I was in sports if I had the same coach the entire time. Because there is a tune-out factor. There's a tune-out factor. There's a feeling out process. If you're your freshman year and you're feeling out a coach, right, through the battles that you have on the field, off the field, there's a mutual understanding and a respect and kind of a role that you play in each other's lives. Freshmen aren't going to get away with near as much as a senior will, because that senior's earned the right to do a couple of the things maybe that freshmen shouldn't be doing, right? But a lot of the coaches will understand and they will say, well, you know what? I'm going to be harder on the seniors. Andy sat here the other day, said, I'm harder on my guys that are featured guys. He's only got 3 seniors on the roster. I know Dan Yeagley was harder on his seniors because the expectation is more grave. The expectation is more, this is the last shot, guys. This is the last shot, girls. You got one more run through here, and this is is your legacy. This is what you're leaving behind. Most coaches will do that. You'll have bad coaches. There's going to come a time in your life, if you're lucky, and hear me out. There's going to come a time in your life, if you're lucky, that you're going to get a bad coach. Why are you lucky? Because it makes you just admire and feel for the coach that you had or will have in the future that are so great. And I'm not taking away from the bad coach. Everybody tries. Everybody can coach. Ask a coach. Everybody can coach when you're losing. Easy to do. Everybody's got the answer. Well, you should have run the ball. Oh, you should have passed the ball. Oh, you should have run this play. You should have. You should have stole a base. You should have done a hit and run. The reality is this: we live in a world full of armchair quarterbacks, and those that get out and do well make it look easy. Easy enough to think that the normal average Joes like yours truly and other people can go out there and do it and have an ounce of the success that particular coach has had. I was fortunate, and I love all of my coaches, and I'm appreciative of all of my coaches, but some of those coaches will tell you they were bad, that they just bridged a gap because nobody raised their hand. And I had a coach that made me realize, and he said, you know what? We're sitting on the bench at the end of a game, and I was bumming because we lost a really tough game. And that coach said, listen, I'm not the answer for you, young man. You deserve better. But cherish those coaches that you get when you have the opportunity to pick their brains. And he told me, I'm going to give you everything I have, and I'm reading books, and I'm doing things that I've never done before to make you and your teammates better. And by doing that, even though he was a bad coach, he was a great leader. Because there's going to be times we step outside of our comfort zone and we're leading people and we have got no idea what we're doing. But you look around the room and nobody else's hands up either. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of coaches like that. And it's not football primarily, obviously. Football, there's a lot of great coaches out there that have earned their positions. But there's coaches out there that have never played the game that they're coaching before, and they're doing it because they want that program to be around, to stay, to succeed, to at least move on to another generation of coaching. If you are lucky enough to have a coach like that, make sure you thank him or her. Make sure that you understand that at the end of the day, when you're 20 years removed from high school and then it finally clicks that they weren't there for the greatness and the headlines and to raise the banner, so to speak. They were there so the program succeeded and you had an outlet for what you needed, for good and bad and indifferent. Make sure that you recognize them as the leaders they are, as opposed to the coaches they weren't. I think that's a good way to wrap it. I think that's a nice little bow that we tied on. I can't tie bows either, so I guess I'll have to take your word for it. Let's get to the comments real quick and see what we got going on here. All right, Sammy says, I would even with the thought have include Coach Hannah and Jefferson. Yeah, I get it. I love Coach Hannah. These guys are culture setters. They get guys to try and care. I get it. I think that's yeah. And obviously Sam's from Ashtabula County, but my point was I'm talking about the coaches that I'm really close with. And I think you're talking about culture setters. You got to add TJ Parker into that as well. I think what he and his team have been able to do of coaches to change the culture at Austintown Fitch. It's been special. I mean, we're talking about teams that when we started YSN, we're having a tough time winning, and now Fitch is in every conversation. I love the guys that ruffle feathers. It's fun to watch the Quiet Storm when they're interesting too, because they both get results. Yeah, I can't disagree with you, Sam. I really can't. Every coach, and this is what I've learned, every coach still takes a little bit from coaches here and there and there. It's the same way that our broadcasters take a little bit from this broadcaster and this broadcaster and almost build, if you remember Transformers, they build that Transformer, no, I guess it's more Power Rangers, the Megazord, right? They got 5 different people that they're building into one really big thing. I think that's valuable, because I think that's what we try to do with our own lives. We take little bits and pieces of what we like about other people and we try to incorporate them, from the way that we act, from the way that we speak, from the way that we carry ourselves, the way that we dress. I think it's valuable. And I think coaches do the same thing. Players do the same thing. I mean, how many kids cut their hair like Patrick Mahomes? There's only one Patrick Mahomes, but it doesn't hurt that you want to be that guy. Coaches do the same thing. Ask a coach how many books that they've read on leadership, or how many coaches admire Nick Saban, right? How many coaches admire some of the coaches that I mentioned today? It's every coach you have, you're fortunate and you're blessed to have a coach that's not the same the whole way through. You want those pieces that you can pick out, because you're not always going to have the same people in your life. Your boss is at one spot is not going to be the same as and have the same attitude and aptitude as your boss in another spot. That's just how it is. Coaches and bosses, same thing. Same thing. All right, let's get to, in our final few minutes here, let's get to the Browns-Steelers game. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is the beginning and the end of what we need to talk about with the Browns and Steelers. First off, I'm not going to be that Steelers fan that rubs it and grinds it away. I've seen some really funny memes. What I will tell you, all you Browns fans out there, all you fans of or anti-Pittsburgh fans, I guess they're not just Browns fans. That's the politically correct way to say things nowadays. Anti-Pittsburgh fans. Here's what I'll tell you. As arrogant and cocky as any Pittsburgh fan could be after that win on Monday night, they are scared to death because they know just how bad this team could be. Okay? So let's get that shoved right out of the way. The Steelers have the potential to be a really, really bad football team this year. There's a lot of things that need fixed. Their offense needs fixed. It's the only team in a century. Now, keep in mind, there's only been, 57 Super Bowls, right? So we're still 43 away from that century mark in Super Bowls. This is before the modern era. They're the only team in history to have -7 yards in the fourth quarter and still win the game. The only team in the century. Because it's not possible. Au contraire, says Kenny Pickett. Au contraire, says Mike Tomlin. That win, I can tell you, other than the fact that it was Cleveland in Pittsburgh, that win is nothing to brag about. And that loss is detrimental to Cleveland. And I'm not talking about from the wins and losses this year. I'm talking Nick Chubb, one of the best running backs in the game, may never play another down of football in his life. That is a stark reality. Your franchise player, the guy you give the ball to when you want, run, Chubb, run, right? There is a distinct possibility that young man, not even 30, has played his last down in the National Football League. That's scary. But at the same time, what I'm going to tell you is, as callous as this is, it's the cost of doing business. If these players don't know by now that there is a very real possibility that every snap is their last, then they don't understand what the NFL is all about. The hit wasn't dirty. The hit was absolute, and I will argue to, and I'm not saying this as a Pittsburgh fan, I watched every angle of that hit. I can't tell you that if I threw my back at somebody, right, not wrapping and twisting and doing all that garbage, if I threw my back at somebody, it's not a hit. It's not a dirty hit. I don't even think it's an intentional hit. I think when a 200-pounder goes up against a 230-pound guy that can squat 600 pounds, you get as low as you can and you get the hell out of the way. And I think that's what we saw. I think that's what we recognized. But the problem is, and I've said this a couple times around these parts, that Browns fans and Steelers fans, for that matter, have a very distinct we're in the same boat, folks. We're on the same cruise ship. When we win a game, nobody in the world's better than us. When we lose a game, it's never our fault. There were calls that went both ways in that game, and we only see it through our rose-colored glasses or our orange-colored glasses or our gold-colored glasses. Relax. I understand that there is a lot going. I'm hoping none of you lost your house on betting that game. I'm hoping that you still have a roof to come back and sleep underneath. If you don't, that's your fault. That's why would you do that? I'm nobody to call anybody out or judge. I'm just curious. Why would you do that? the Browns and the Steelers have potential to be a very, very bad. I mean, really, if you think about the AFC North, Baltimore's 2-0, Cincinnati's 0-2, and you got the Browns and Steelers at 1-1. It could be a very bad division this year. And it just could be a rough and tumble division that you're going to get one team that gets out of there. And like we talk all the time, Lamar Jackson's one hit away, and the Baltimore Ravens are one hit away from being a below average, well below average football team. Because OBJ's hurt again. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack. Joe Burrow's hurt. I think I said it last week to Scotty. I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's mind anymore that Joe Burrow's hurt. But look at the injuries that we've seen this year. Cam Hayward's out for the Steelers. Minkah Fitzpatrick, he had to leave the game. You've got Deontay Johnson that's out. Nick Chubb, right? I'm here to tell you that that game was ugly on a multitude of levels. And it was long and drawn out. But for the Browns fans to say that Kenny Pickett stinks is, first off, it's ridiculous, right? Mind your business with that. 290 million other reasons they should be winning as well. Well, here, that's Sam. I hate to break it to you. I think we've had this talk before, buddy. That one's on you. That one's on the Cleveland fans and the guy that they've got in the front office. There's a 290 million reasons that they shouldn't have pulled the trigger on any of that guaranteed money. They wanted to make a splash. They made a splash. And now guess what? You got to swim in the pool. I mean, make your bed, sleep in it. That's how it goes, right? Same thing with Kenny Pickett. You got the guy for another 3 years guaranteed, right? At the end of the day, he's your quarterback for at least 3 more years. They're not going to cut ties with Kenny Pickett for the next 3 years. So all you Steelers fans that think that Ben Roethlisberger is going to come out of retirement on his white horse, probably the same guys or gals that thought Ben Roethlisberger should have retired 5 years before he did, when he's still throwing 6 touchdowns in a game, things of that nature. The people that are calling for Matt Canada's head are the same people that called for Todd Haley's head, same people that called for Bruce Arians' head, same people. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. Like, turn the page. Turn the page. I get you don't want to be mediocre, but listen, you can only win so many Super Bowls when you're drafting at the 15 to 30 position in the draft. The Browns, I've got no idea. No cotton picking idea why you guys are as bad as you've been over the last 20 years. No clue. Zero clue. Don't understand it. Not for the life of me. I can't. But I do know that there was an emergence on Monday night, and a guy that you're going to hear a lot about, and his name is George Pickens. And as long as Kenny Pickett can get him the ball, George Pickens is going to be a determining factor in these rivalry games for a long time to come. That is going to do it for the show today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you so much. Up and down the roster, top to bottom. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for making this part of your day. Tonight, we have the Canfield Cardinals show here on YSN. That starts at about 7 o'clock. We'll have Coach Pavlansky. We'll talk to him, of course, after a big dub. And then we will set up for Austin Town Fitch tomorrow, live from Sam's Wedge Inn. If you can get out there, support these teams. Make sure you shake some hands and say thank you for being an entertaining part of our community. Again, that's it for us today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow, 3 to 4, right here on your Sports Network. See you later.